Welcome, everyone, to Community Spotlight Black Women in Business, where we want to highlight and feature Black women thriving in business. My name is Carrion Gray, and I'm the Adult and Senior Services Specialist for Prince George's County. Today, I have with me Keisha Brown Esquire. Keisha Brown Esquire is an established civil rights attorney who has gained great respect in the legal community in her 15 years of work in the public and private sectors. A graduate of Georgetown University, Law Center, and Wesley College. Keisha is the founder of Justice Connection, the only lawyer referral service connecting Black lawyers. She is a proud resident of Pretty Girl County, enjoys cupcakes and peach cobbler. And for those that don't know, Pretty Girl County stands for Prince George's County, and we are always Prince George's County proud. Next, I have with me Shannon Taylor. Shannon Taylor is a creative maven and owner of I Am Book Box LLC. She is known as mom to two handsome and scholarly sons. Her friends and family know her as an energetic DIY loving, sale obsessed mama nista. Her passion behind the I'm Books box is to grant women the permission to take time for themselves and to read. And you know, we love that at the library. So, and also to dream, create, and grow. Through the Sister Circle Book Club, you can gain access to the community to support you in your journey. All right, so welcome, ladies. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for
Hi,
taking the
Karen.
time
Thanks
to
for having us.
you awesome. Like when I you two have two unique businesses and I just thank you. I think it's good to share some different stuff during this time, during these uncertain times, as everybody is saying, businesses that are thriving and just talk about your journeys. So we'll get into it. And my first question for you all is to just give us a little background about your business, the services that you offer, and really what makes your business unique. Keisha, do you want to take it first?
Sure. Thanks again for having me. So, Justice Connection was built on the foundation of being a lawyer. And I feel like from the minute that I started law school, I had folks asking, hey, do you know somebody who does family law? Do you know somebody who does criminal law? And so forth. And I would go through my phone, my email, looking for lawyers and trying to contact. And I felt like Black lawyers were not connected well to our own community, right? And we were one, leaving money on the table. And two, we were knowingly leaving our communities most vulnerable in a system that we know historically and continuously marginalizes and oppresses us, right? And so Justice Connection was born to be that bridge and connect people to greater access to legal resources, especially Black lawyers. There's so much value in being able to have someone who can give you legal advice, who has the cultural competency to understand where you're coming from, your community, your value set, and so forth. And so at Justice Connection, it's a free service, right? When you're looking for a lawyer for whatever kind, because Black lawyers, we do it all, right? Whether it's domestic issue, whether it's family law, child support, custody, prenuptial agreement, whether it's criminal defense, traffic, or felony murder, whether it's a business, whether it's merging a franchise, we Black lawyers do it all, right? And so it's so exciting to be able to showcase and share the intense and the amazing talent that we have in the Black legal community.
Awesome. Thank you. Definitely a specialized business. I know we've talked before. It's just so many times where circumstances where people don't feel like they need a
Yeah,
lawyer.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
A big part
Awesome.
of it is in the beginning, sort of educating us around the value of legal counsel, right? So oftentimes we hesitate to connect with a lawyer until it's the last possible thing. And we're like, Lord, we need some legal help, right? And we're back up against the wall. And what we really want is to be able to have the opportunity to engage with the lawyer before we hit that position, right? So earlier on in your business, you're like, oh, I'm gonna wait till I blow up and I'm ready, and then I'm gonna contact the lawyer, right? And it's really before that that you want to sort of touch base and say, hey, this is where I'm at in my business. right? And be able to get that feedback and that insight and that advice that can help guide you along the way so you don't actually get into those pitfalls. And so a big part of the work that we see that is important for Justice Connection in the community is to share the value of legal counsel and how it isn't um, out of our pocketbook expense, right? Oftentimes we think, I can't afford a lawyer, girl. I need to just DIY it, right? And sometimes some things are good to DIY, and some things you might need to go ahead and get professional advice.
Right.
And there is and it's worth your money, right? And sometimes we need to know sort of what we're getting and what we're and the training, right, and expertise that the lawyer's bringing and how valuable it is.
Awesome. Awesome. Shannon, go ahead, get to the books.
Sure. So I'll jump right in. On BookBox is, we have several different functions. So I'll start with our primary. So when I initially started the business, excuse me, the purpose and passion of On BookBox was to really allow women to include reading into their day-to-day schedule, right? So for me, as you mentioned, I'm a mom. I have a full-time job, juggling extracurricular activities, friends and family. And I started to see that when all of those things are happening, the first thing that we literally put on the shelf, no pun intended, is your books, right? I was an avid reader, loved reading books, enjoyed books, and then life happened. And so BookBox came out of the need, more or less, to allow women to pencil themselves in to their calendar, right? Everyone is getting your time. Everyone is pulling from you and pulling from you, but how are you recharging yourself and really making time for yourself? So with that, as a personal goal to myself, I actually started a book club, which is the Sister Circle book club that you mentioned. And really the purpose of the book club was just a organized reason to gather with other women and get some time away from, the hustle and bustle and the day to day. And from that, it grew into so much more than just a book club. I always say books brought us together, but the experience is so much more. So books was the common denominator. That is how, women were able to gather, and let's talk about your childcare concerns, and let's talk about, how are you juggling the full-time career with the extracurriculars. So from the book club came On BookBox. And basically it was just out of the need that you would receive your monthly book in the mail, shipped to you every month without you needing to remember to order it in time for book club. And in addition to receiving your book through the monthly book subscription box, you received your book and so much more. So that's how the On BookBox book subscription started. So every month we curate a book box to include one book, a custom bookmark, a personalized letter, and then 4 to 5 in-theme novelty items that basically help you to continue to stay on your journey of reading by more or less promoting the creativity and growth. So whether through journals or affirmation cards or dream jars are the type of items that you will receive in your book box every month. So it auto ships to you. You have your book for the month. You know that you're going to meet on the set day, and then you can enjoy all of the other awesome items that are in the boxes. And that is our primary function. And then came my next idea, which is fairly new to BookBox, but I'm super, super excited about. I understood as a mom, of course, I want time for myself, but with women and many of us being moms also come our children. And how do we engage them? The habit of reading is one that kids should see. So that's a plus. They see you picking up your book every month. They're going to want to pick up their book. And from that, I launched the On BookBox mobile book boutique. And it is literally a bookstore on wheels. So we took a truck and converted it and turned it into a bookstore. And so we pretty much travel throughout the entire DMV area, more or less bringing books to the communities where children of color are able to see themselves in the characters of the books that they read. So all of our authors that we feature currently are also either self-published or independently published authors. We want to build up those indie authors as much as we can, and make sure that people know about the awesome books that they offer. We have over 25 authors currently featured. We also have a section within the mobile where we feature products of other small businesses, a cute reading nook. It's a whole experience. So the mobile, we do a lot of community events. We travel just around, making stops throughout the city, just making reading and books accessible to the community.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So y'all kind of touched on this, but if you can expand a little bit on just me, even as a person who's just an enterprising type person, what really was your inspirational that led you like, you know what, I'm starting this business? Like, I feel like a lot of people are in this exploratory phase and they never really commit to like putting their idea on paper, setting up their business plan and going. So what really inspired you to just go ahead and start your business? If anybody wants to take that or add to it.
Yeah, so I'll go first. I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, right? I never kind of said, "Oh, I'm gonna own my own business one day." But in 2018, after leaving public service, I was on the executive level, and a new mayor came in, and when a new, principal comes in, sort of the old regime sort of shifts out, and so I went to go work for the private sector, doing some external relations work, and it was not a good fit at all. And when I decided to part ways with them, I sort of had a moment, right? I'm in the car driving, and I felt like God was like, "Are you ready?" Right? Like, you've been sort of dipping and dodging, but are you ready to take this step? And I felt ready. I didn't know what it was going to be called. I didn't know what it was going to do per se. But from that moment, I started to work on building Justice Connection, right? So there are some folks who say, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's what everybody does in my family or in my community. And I didn't really have that experience. It wasn't until after I began my entrepreneurial journey that I even started to learn more about the entrepreneurs in my own family. It was then that my dad was like, "Oh, that's right. Back in the day, I had my own ice cream truck. I bought my ice cream truck and I would drive around and I was like, 'You owned an ice cream truck,' right?" And he pulled out the picture. And so that was kind of neat because there is a rich history of entrepreneurism in the Black community. And I think sometimes we've lost those stories, we've lost those memories even, and those experiences. And we think that what we're doing is new or groundbreaking. And it's really continuing a very rich tradition that Black people have had in this country, to really have to start from scratch and build something that is amazing and build something out of the need that we found from our own community.
Keisha, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. I guess for me, I'll piggyback off of Keisha, honestly. I guess the difference for me, I did at a young age recognize that I did have several entrepreneurs within my family. Many of them, the women in my family, the women who, I really admired and looked up to. I had a great aunt that had a bakery. I had, even something as simple as my grandmother who sold Mary Kay, right? Like, that's entrepreneurship, like that, so seeing her go to those meetings and really take pride in building and developing this was something I've always seen. I don't think that I ever necessarily was able to make that connection then, now, as much as I can now. But honestly, for me, I think I've always been a very creative person, in a sense. Like, I have a million ideas in my head, but I'm also, I guess for me, it's identifying, much to what you said, Keisha. It was kind of like, here's the plan, here you go. It was almost like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But again, it was a need, right? Like, I noticed it was a need. People were showing up to book club, they didn't finish because they didn't have the book, or, so for me, it was kind of out of a need. There was nothing really in me that was like, you shouldn't, it was kind of like, just do it, right? Like I just kind of jumped out there. I didn't know anything about subscription companies. I didn't know anything about any of that. But as long as there's YouTube and Google, I mean, you can find out things. And I think for me, that's just who I am to my core. Like I'm okay with getting some of the bumps and the bruises because the idea to me is just so awesome. Like I'm going to do it and I'm going to learn, continue to learn through it. And I'm not saying that's the best approach to take, but for me, that's ultimately just how my mind works. I just kind of jump out there, and it's kind of like sink or swim at that point. And I just get into go mode. And the idea was there. I understood that there was potentially a market for it. And I just kind of tested the market and ran with it.
But, Karen, like what you just said, Shannon, is like literally it, right? Like there is, I think sometimes I know for myself, you think that there is a way, right? There is a set thing. And literally how you were like, hey, I had an idea and I started Googling. Like we're lucky we're in a day and age where that can be our step one, right? To just
Amen.
be like, just type my whole idea in, see what comes up, right? And that is oftentimes the first step. And being able to, I think, give yourself space to take that first step, right, is so important. And we're still in the age of COVID, unfortunately. And, but this is a time that I think for folks to take advantage of a little bit still more of that distance, right? And with that distance comes a little bit more intimacy, and that intimacy with yourself and having time with yourself and giving yourself the opportunity to actually say that idea that I've had, right, that I'm too busy or too ashamed or too questioning about, I literally can't use the excuse that I don't have the time or I don't have, like, sit down right now and Google, right, your idea and see what comes up, and give yourself that space and that permission to just wonder and explore.
I agree 100%. Yeah, Google was just, an example, but, and it might be something that it doesn't exist, right? Like you are the first to innovate a thing. And I think to your point, it's like giving yourself that permission to tread those uncharted waters and really just taking the first step, because the first step is the first step, right? Like you got to take the step to get anywhere. And I think for me, I'm also very much a believer that ideas jump and leave. And they go to different people, right? Like something comes to you and it's almost like, hey, here's this thing. And when you don't act on or take those things, it moves on, right? To the next person. And I kind of compare that to where you're like, you can think of something that you thought of and then you see it in real form and you're like, man, I thought of that. Like, how did they come up with this idea? But you never acted on that idea. So for me, it was almost like when those things hit me and it really feels good in my spirit, it's almost like act now. Like I can't wait for the time for it to then land with someone else. So it's, for me, I just move with that urgency. Like if this thing feels good in my spirit and I think this is really, where I should be, it's not something that for me, it comes easy, right? Like the themes, the ideas, the book pick, those things come easy to me. So it's never work. It's never, I'm not saying it's never stressful or, it involves more, but when I think about it to the core, like to the pit of me, it's who I am. It's what I enjoy doing. It's what I love doing. And so I think for that, it continues to have me to push and really strive to take the next step and the next step.
That's awesome. I love that idea. I've never heard that. And right, Karen, I said, oh, wait a second. She done.
Y'all dropping gems. I don't even have to ask questions. Y'all can just discuss and give a master class on taking out the, I mean, like definitely y'all are dropping gems. Like what I'm hearing is, acting on it, giving yourself permission. So I hope everyone like who's on the edge and teeter-tottering on starting a business really is looking at this like, okay, and find some relation, because I know I am. So definitely. So in that vein, in relation, so let's have a little fun here. I know me and Shannon, we have a shared background of retail experience. Any interesting jobs or careers that you've had that you would like to share, or something that has maybe incidentally helped you with your business?
Well, I'll take that one since you said we have the retail pass. It's crazy because honestly, I hated retail. And I know hate is a very strong word, but again, it was something I was good at, right? But the difference was I wasn't doing something that was passionate to me. So the retail, I will say, working retail was definitely, could be stressful, came with a lot of factors, but that experience has really helped me. It's helped me to really understand that like customer service, customer engagement piece, like really being, open and being able to communicate with the customer. That was something that being in retail for all those years taught me, so I would say retail was probably really, really good. After my retail career, I got into, local government and did many different things, but all of them still always had that kind of like one-on-one interaction with another person, a customer, another small business, or those sort of pieces. So I will say, it all kind of meshes together, and I don't think you see that initially while you're in it. I didn't understand, like, Lord, why do you keep me in retail? Like, I don't want to be here, right? Like, I work these late nights, I can't be home with my kids. But all in all, it was all just part of the lesson, right? Like, it was the schooling. It was the thing that I needed to do and really experience and appreciate, right? In order to come out of that and see that it wasn't that bad at the time. Like, in what I learned from that and how I grew from that is much more beneficial to me now than, of course, I could see at that time. So I would say, yeah, the retail was definitely like, who would have thought? Like, here I am now, running my own business and doing that retail part, because the mobile is a store. We have customers that come in. We have customers who might not be happy with the product, or so all of those things, I have to take into account. So I will say that was definitely a career path that in the end now was definitely beneficial to me.
I can relate. We was that retail work is some hard work. It's kind of like they say, like everybody should have like a fast food job or something once in their life to just kind of really experience and to have kind of empathy. Some people go around and it's like, I need that. No, I want that. Catch up right there on that fry, like that kind of mentality. So yeah, thank you for sharing. I don't know, Keisha, if you had any, Esquire, lawyer. I
I
don't.
was no, girl, I was a hostess and a waitress back
Okay.
in college, and you know had enough potato soup and brownie dessert for my entire life because it was like, oh, we get that for free, okay, every day. But yeah, it does. It humbles you, or not even humbles you. It provides such a an important part of your foundation. Whatever your early jobs are usually, right, something that is starting to allow you to build off of. And it's important to have those experiences.
All right. So here's another question, kind of in the same vein. Um, Now that you're business owners, is there any type of, I know it might be special to your business, any classes that you would recommend, or was there any kind of skill set that you found helpful for your position or your business?
Um, I would say there are so many different resources online, so many, right, around fostering entrepreneurs. And now there are so many folks who are focusing on, especially Black and Brown people in the startup and entrepreneur small business space, right? So there are accelerated programs, which are geared towards, hey, it's almost like a boot camp where they focus on business fundamentals, usually virtually even, over the course of anything between 4 to 10-week programs. And those can be really helpful to sort of infuse you with a bunch of skills that will be helpful in one way or the other. I think that there's so many things that are also for free. Sometimes we think that, you know, we got to take, I know I took like a business plan class. And it was a complete waste of my time, right? But I felt really strongly that I needed to take it. I was like, I got to get this business plan. I can't start, and I need to take this class, and they're going to teach me. And I was in there, and the instructor literally read line for line everything on this photocopied like handout that had been photocopied literally at probably like 685 times, right? And I just felt like, and the instructor was a Black woman, and everybody in there was a Black woman. And for financing, she recommended going to our banks. And I was like, so that's probably the worst place for a Black entrepreneur to start off at. And that's the reality, right? Like there might be some banks who watch and they're like, that's not true. Check yourself, right? Because historically, banks have been horrible to Black businesses, right? They have not lent to us in the same ways that they lend to our white entrepreneurs. In venture capital money, Black and entrepreneurs get less than 1% of all venture capital funds. Less than 1% Black people get in all venture capital funds. So we're not being funded in the ways that white people are being funded for their dreams, for their ideas. And that shows in the way that our businesses are able to withstand the time. Like the report out is that 41% of Black businesses have closed as a result of COVID. That is mostly likely due to lack of capital, lack of being able to withstand, right? Not being able to have your door open because you live in and you're managing your business check to check, right? Day to day. And so in building a business, I think take advantage of all of the free resources out there, right? There's
The
Google for
library.
Start.
The library.
Huh?
The
The
library.
Hello. Right? This course right here, this right here, count this, right? Like if you're watching this and you have a business dream, count this as you spending time enhancing and developing skill and figuring out business, because that's what this is, right? That's what it's about. It's literally connecting with people, it's meeting with people, it's being on subscribe to different newsletters so that you're in the know, it's participating in free. I would explore everything for free as much as possible, right? If you really have to pay for something, it was maybe a certification or something formal, then by all means, right? But there are so many free resources that I think that we often just don't know about. And so we end up doing sort of the more traditional route that we have the traditional barriers and roadblocks, right? I don't know, Shannon, if you did,
Yeah, I mean, I have the same sentiment. I didn't really take anything formal. Like, I mean, I majored in business in college for whatever that's worth. You say what?
It's a major.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you got some fundamentals.
No, I did, but you know, I don't say that to say that that's everybody's route, right? Like, but I did major in business in college, and I guess with starting the business, I'm much like you, Keisha. Like I look for the free stuff before I invest in the money. I will say I did take some additional courses that are really reasonable through the local community college. There are many certification programs through the local community college that, I mean, a couple, you know, $100 or give or take, you could earn a certificate in many different things. Like I randomly, well, not randomly, it's something that I like. I got a certification in event planning, because I enjoy planning weddings and, you know, events. And now to think I use that, right? Because when I'm planning these book club meetups, we're doing the picnics, we're doing, you know, these lavish things. So it all comes back full circle. And that was very inexpensive. And I went through Prince George's Community College to do that. So those are options. The free stuff is definitely an option. Definitely check out your local like SBAs, small women's business centers. They offer a lot of resources that are free. You can even get a one-on-one business planning coach through the SBA. So check out those because they are federally funded, programs that are looking to support entrepreneurs. And then again, I'm also that person of, just asking. I'm fine with, pinging other people and pulling in like, hey, do you know somebody that does this? Or, and people are only going to give you so much, but some people are willing to share. Some people are willing to definitely give you those resources. And if nothing more, it's like a closer step to the next thing to get you to that next piece that you need. So I do that a lot. I think the library is also a great resource. I've taken, free things through the library as well. It's really, for me, I guess I don't really look to learn anything until I really need to utilize it or I'm really interested in it. And then I will definitely sign up for it. So yeah, to Keisha's point, I say shoot for the free. And then if it's something else that you just cannot get for free, then definitely invest in yourself, because I think eventually you will see the return, and it will be worth it. But definitely just be really strategic in what you choose to pay for, because a lot of what your people are paying for now is completely free.
Yeah, our community college has an entrepreneurial center now. It opened up in 2020. And some of my favorites, just to give folks some examples, I Fund Women. There's Fun Black Founders. There's Seed Spot. I did Google Startup Weekend. What's it called? Techstars.
Yep.
Startup Weekend, and that was fun. That was like a weekend worth of folks all coming together of all races and ages, and we were put on teams and developed ideas and did the market research together. It was sort of like an intense weekend, but it was a great experience, right? And then you meet people, and that's a big part of it, right? I think the entrepreneurial journey can be a little bit like you could be in a silo, right? Yeah. You're like looking around and you're like, ooh, just me, right? Like, oh, what do we think today? Are we motivated or not? And so, being able to connect with other entrepreneurs, I think is really important in the journey, because you don't know everything and you might know 2 little pieces of nuggets. And then somebody over there might know 1.5, and you put your thing together, you got 3.5 nuggets of information, and now you've doubled what you knew, And so I think that's a really important, like, you got great friends, great family, but you need to find other people who are dreaming, other people who are exploring their ideas, other people who are taking that risk and connecting with them, because there's an energy there that you can exchange and feed off of. That's really important to keep you going in your journey when there are those days where you wake up and you're like, why am I doing this again? Oh yeah, right? And sometimes you need somebody to be like, this is great, I'm so, and you're like, yeah, I know, let me get back to it, right? And you just need that boost and you go right back in.
Yeah, so
No,
I
I
hope
agree.
even y'all are able to connect from this. I mean, I just think this is so good. Like, who can't use a lawyer? And I know, that referral thing is an awesome just idea. Then who can't? It is. It's hard trying to do everything. And then like to have the books delivered to your door, that's awesome. Like, make me read,
Right.
And,
Right.
and even though I'm with the library, everybody knows if you're a true book lover, there's always a book you want to purchase. So, and especially for some of the indie authors and independent authors, to have that connection with Shannon is just amazing. Amazing. So I have kind of another question for you all. So like ink the paper setting up your business. Was there anything that surprised you about the process, or you had no idea that was necessary or something like that? Anyone?
So I did not go to business school, and even though I'm a lawyer, being a lawyer does not mean you know everything, okay?
Okay.
Because people will be like, "Oh, but you're a lawyer," and I'd be like, "I don't know nothing about no business law." Like, we don't learn everything, right? Like you can once you get the skills, right? You're supposed to be able to sort of figure certain things out. But I didn't have a special magic ball because I'm a lawyer that knew about running a business or starting a business. And there's just so much that I feel like you learn as you go, right? So there's a lot of things that I was like, oh, I wish I had known that. I mean, there's money that I spent that I was like, I wish I could get that back, right? And I
That
had
class that you took.
that one luckily was so small, like it was like $35 that I was like, I guess I'm not going out to Applebee's tonight, but I didn't break the bank on it, right? But yeah, but it was also an experience about like, aha, I don't need to spend my time or money looking through this type of like small business help because it's going to be very similar and I can just move that out the way, right? And I was looking for more innovative, um, sort of tech related and black and brown forward and empowering. That was the type of environment in the, you know, in the entrepreneurial world that I wanted to be a part of. And I do think it's like great to go ahead and claim it, right? Be an entrepreneur. Sometimes I think we adopt labels that other people put on us, right? Oh, you're a small business. So are you trying to say that I have to stay small, right? I am small. I got to stay small. I can only operate as a sub, not a prime. There are all these things that come with labels, right? And how people name things and what boxes and categories they put you in. And so I prefer, actually, I don't consider myself a small business. I consider myself an entrepreneur. I consider myself a founder and a CEO, right? And I might be the CEO and a janitor, but gosh darn it, I'm the CEO too,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
being able to claim the principal role, the whole package of what you're putting together without somebody else's label. Because who's to say that you're going to be a small business for more than 24 hours that you first started? Right? All of these other Amazon, he didn't say, oh, I'm a small business and I'm gonna be a small business forever. And then somehow woke up one day and was Amazon. No,
Exactly.
right? He had a completely different vision. And we have the authority and the right to have those visions as well.
I love it. That makes me think of something because I always say, that I found myself always referencing my business as we. Yes, we can do that, and we can do that. And I got to a space, and I was like, there is no we. There's a me. I. I am I'm your customer service representative. I'm your packager. I'm your shipping manager. I think that's important. And I know that might not always be the case, to Keisha's point. I know that it'll be bigger than just a me, but in what we're saying and how we're, really prophesizing and giving energy to it, I'm taking ownership of this. Like, I do a lot for this business, and I think we need to learn to give ourselves more credit for all of the pieces, that we really do, and the benefits that they really add to the business as a whole, and now it's like, no, I do those things, but much to your point, I also know that in the future I will have a shipping manager and I will have, so I think it's important to be very precise with your words and the manifestation of like what is to come. Yeah.
All right.
So I have a question, and I think Keisha, you kind of hit on it a little bit because you talked about banks and lending for Black people.
Mm.
Now, let's be real. As a woman, a Black woman, has that impacted your business at all? Maybe positive or negative? How has race and gender played a part?
Yeah. And it is important for us to talk about that, right? And so when I was in that course and I was led by a Black woman who taking was not sharing the realities with a room full of Black women who were looking to start a business about the banking world, I felt like it was a missed opportunity, right? Because the reality is that we are going to experience the entrepreneurial journey differently than our white counterparts. Point blank, we will, right? And so it doesn't mean that we have to do more with less. It just means that we have to be cognizant, and we often are in other spheres of our life, but also in this business world, that we have a different experience. And so, for example, so I consider Justice Connection a legal tech startup. right? It is, we use technology to make the legal matchmaking process more efficient and effective, right? So not only are we exclusively promoting Black lawyers, which no one else is doing, but I also feel like the current model that's out there in lawyer matchmaking is more focused on quantity than it is on quality. And so we are cultivating natural language processing and machine learning to be able to take somebody's problem and be able to identify their legal issue, right? And so I had applied for a state women's tech roundtable. And I shared about Justice Connection, and the response that I got back from them was, we don't think you're a good fit, right? And we don't think you're a good fit is like verbatim, right? The response that Black people often get about not fitting in, right? So what was it about the fact that I had been accepted to one of the only legal tech accelerator programs run by LexisNexis in the country, right? And that I had done that program, or that I'm a lawyer, and that, the product is, and I had identified certain technologies, right, that we were already using, that I still wasn't a good fit. And I made mention of it to a Black person that worked there, and the person eventually wrote me back and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Let's talk." But by that point, I was sort of like, I don't need to be a part of your group, right? Like, it's not that serious for me. And this clearly isn't the type of environment that's going to support and nurture my growth. And so sometimes we find ourselves not being able to be a part of some of the things that quite frankly, we should be able to be a part of, because that was a state program, right? So my tax dollars went towards creating that program, right? So sometimes it is about pushing back and saying, hey, I belong. As a Black woman, I have just as much right to be here as all the other people who are here, right? And quite frankly, the fact that as a Black person, we don't have to create products and services and businesses that mirror white people. Our businesses don't have to be what they're doing in order for them to be considered legitimate. And we have to be able to take ownership that if we want to create whatever it is, right? As Shannon said, it's often the best businesses are those that are created out of a need. And so if I'm in my Black community and I'm seeing a need within my Black community and you don't recognize it, that doesn't make your business any less than.
I want to applaud right there. That's awesome.
Right?
Like that's a woo. I mean, I think that's so heavy. I mean, we look at different things, and I think from a cultural perspective, this program will air for Black History Month and just stuff that is unique to us when we think back of historically of Black Wall Street and what it meant, and other people. Sometimes we look for that validation from other people, but if you have that in your community, that's a strong piece, Keisha. Like, oh, I gotta slow down there on that. But you said a lot. You said a lot on that. You said a lot on
Yeah,
that.
I'm passionate about advocating on behalf of people who look like us, right? And that is part of my big purpose on this planet, right? Is to show up in that way. And so, like Shannon said, when she was creating, right, and having these ideas, it didn't feel like work, and it felt like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's how I feel about Justice Connection, right? And the purpose of, like, I think about how people can come outside of their door and step outside of their door feeling more empowered every day, because if stuff were to hit the fan, they have a legal resource, right? Because right now, whether we acknowledge it or if it's conscious or unconscious, we walk outside our door and we hope that shit don't hit the fan. Right? Because we're like, I don't have no bandwidth for nothing else. Right?
And me and you talked about, like, just even simple thing, knowing your rights. You could be driving and pulling over. If you got a lawyer in your pocket, I do think you approach situations with a certain calm as planning. Same thing with a prenuptial agreement or anything else like that. You kind of already have a plan or something in place. We know we don't plan for stuff to go wrong, but let's face it, stuff can go wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything you want to add on that, Shannon, because you kind of triggered another question for me. So, but go ahead, Shannon. If you
No, I mean, I think what Keisha said is factual. I guess for me at this stage of my business, I think it hasn't been a deterrent for me to say that I need to, I've been turned away because I'm, seeking that. But I think it's definitely something that is front of mind. And so, much to her point, I think a lot of us as, Black business owners, we make a way sometimes out of other options so that we don't have to always, we don't have to go through that road and more or less face the disappointment that, so many of us know potentially and more than likely is coming if we are knocking on the door of some of these traditional lenders and that piece. So I haven't gone down that route yet, thankfully. I've kind of just built my business and really been able to fund and continue to make those pivots through more or less in my business planning and how certain pieces, lead to the next. So through the book boxes, that profit led to the mobile, right? So through the mobile, that will lead to something else. So even with starting the mobile, I literally launched this truck and had not one single author or book to sell, not one.
And talk about the truck. Talk about the conversion. Talk about that. I'm leading you in a little bit.
Were you in there like refitting it out and like
I did it all. Wow. I did it all. So I literally purchased, and this is where I'm saying to Keisha's point, like we are problem solvers. That's what we do. It's innately in us, right? So I literally came up with the idea, literally taking my children to school one day, dropping them off, and stopped at a red light and looked to my right and saw a old abandoned like box truck or something sitting on the road. And I was like, eureka, that's it. I'm going to launch this book truck, right? And so initially I didn't tell anybody. I kept it to myself. Everybody gonna think I'm crazy anyway for doing it. Why even bother? But I literally at that point got online and was like, how can I get a van? Where can I find a truck? What can I do? Whatever. I went to the auction. I went to the auto auction. I made the investment in myself. I said, I'm going to take, and I'll tell you, I literally took part of a tax return, right? I mean, I got a return on taxes. Instead of, splurging and doing whatever, I bought a truck from the auction. I purchased this truck, an old Metro Access van. For those of you know, WMATA owned, they do all of the transporting around Washington, D.C. and other areas. I found an old Metro Access van. I purchased it. And I didn't even immediately go to work. It sat there for a month before I ever did anything, because I think it was like, okay, Shannon, you're moving fast. It was almost so much like my mind couldn't, like, you have this truck, like, what are you going to do? And then immediately I kind of got into go mode. It was then my goal that I am going to literally birth this mobile truck on my birthday. And I had 1 month from when I finally was like, okay, let's get started. And I was like, for my birthday, this is my birthday gift to myself. I'm birthing a book bus. And that's what I did. But to Keisha's point, literally, I purchased the van. I did have to contract someone to put like the shelving in once I had gutted it out. But I literally painted. I sanded shelves, I hung curtains, I decorated the entire thing, I laid the tile on the floor, I put up the wallpaper, everything in this mobile, these hands did. Like, and I just, at night, I would go in and I would work, and I would, go in and I would do this.
And it's nice, y'all. Please check her out on her website. This ain't, she done redid it. It don't look like a Metro Access. On the inside, it is a mobile boutique. Okay, yeah. It is a boutique experience. Ladies, we like our boutiques, and we like to walk through some nice stuff. So don't think you're going through some dusty work van. No, honey, it is a mobile boutique. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And that was the thing, right? Boutiques are small. They're quaint. They're, literally 3 to 4 people can get in at a time spaciously. And then I did hire a company, Black owned, by the way, to do the wrap on the outside, and wrapped it, and I made it, fit with my brand. But yeah, I got to work, it's just like hey, I think I called in my dad to do something at one point, like hey, I know you know how to do this. Can you do this for me? And people are willing to help you, right? Because they understand that they are a part of this dream, of this thing. And I literally launched this on my birthday, and none of my family knew. I sent out an Evite and said I was having a sip and see. Y'all know housewives. I was having a sip and see. I had so many people like, oh my gosh, are you pregnant? Are you having another baby? And I was like, yeah, something like that. And literally my family and friends showed up, and I rolled up in this van and was like, this is the thing. But again, it's to that point of like believing in yourself enough to know, almost like that, if you build it, they will come. So I was like, if I build this mobile truck, some author has to come, right? And it literally it started. And I'm not saying that it's easy. It's not going to be easy, but for me, to another good point you made, Keisha, about connecting and really being in networks and environments that really continue to uplift you and promote you. I attended a conference. This was my one investment training. I attended a conference in Dallas, Texas, and it was an entrepreneur conference, a Christian-based entrepreneurship conference. And I had a really close girlfriend of mine had invited me. She was actually launching her book. She had just published a book and decided that she was going to go to this conference and she was going to be a vendor there. And so I went, she invited me. I went to more or less support her, but of course I attended the conference too. And I tell this in all like little interviews or anything that I get. It was one day of the conference. One of the speakers was talking about, just doing that business thing. And this one quote, I promise you guys, is pretty much like my life mantra at this point, at least business mantra for sure. She literally said, it can't be that hard. Anything that you want to do, it can't be that hard. And something so like minuscule, right? Like, that don't take a rocket scientist. Like, it can't be that hard. If someone can develop a website, why can't you? They learned, right? Someone taught them, or they figured it out, or someone wants to launch a bit. It can't. So now for me, in everything that I want to do with my business, that's what I tell myself. When I get in a jam, like, oh, I don't know how to do this new social media, it can't be that hard. Someone has figured it out, so you can figure it out. And that is literally what I tell myself. So when I come up with these big grand ideas like birthing a bus, I literally told myself, it can't be that hard. And I did it. And I didn't have anyone to call up and be like, so you've been doing this book bus for how long? It doesn't exist. So it was kind of like I was first to the market in the realm of books, but for me, that's my resume. It can't be that hard. Anything that you want to do, it cannot be that hard. To Keisha's point, take the first step and just know, like, you'll figure it out. You will figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, I'm sure someone else will be there to help you, give you a tidbit so that you can figure it out and get to the next level.
Awesome. Y'all are hitting, y'all giving some good talk now. A lot of good talk. Yeah. Now, in relation to the civil unrest that we had in 2020, you had a lot of companies putting out statements where they're standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, and different things of that nature. Have you felt any, like, an increase in uptake of people wanting to do business with you? Or how do you feel about doing business with others? Are you looking for that when other people you're doing, because you talked about a Black owned business? So how has that impacted? Do you feel a resurgence, or do you have any thoughts on that? And I'll let Keisha start, because I feel like Keisha gonna say, girl. Go ahead, Keisha.
Well, I got all those emails, right? And everybody was like, I thought
everybody was Black, won't they? They was
everybody
Black.
had a Black friend. Everybody. And I was like, ain't this something? Okay, right? And everybody's like, we got $100,000 and we're gonna help Black people. And it sounds like a lot, right? And it felt like it wasn't horrible, right? Folks being like, we stand with Black Lives Matter, or we stand with Black people. The key to me is how does this manifest, right? Because $100,000 sounds awesome. You're like, oh, that's a lot. For Best Buy or any large enterprise, $100,000 is nothing, right? Especially when you're like, we're going to give it to 10 Black businesses, right? So that's $10,000, and you have thousands of people apply, right? So there was a lot of different grants opportunities that hit the scene, but there was also a tremendous, overwhelming swell of Black businesses that were like, we need, right, that support. So it was almost like too little, and for many of our Black businesses, too late, right? Because remember, 41% closed during, like, from April down. And so I think that it requires us to continue to still put pressure on people, right? I think there are folks who are still like in the middle of figuring it out, right? So businesses made their statements in June, and some of them created committees. And now, especially under a new presidency, folks are still figuring it out, right? And I do think it is it's good practice for us as Black businesses to really think innovatively how we can tap into that, right? How we can connect with that. I know at Justice Connection, I'm working on a number of strategic partnerships, right, with those large enterprises, because those folks, every business, everybody, y'all, everybody's got an attorney, right? So Amazon, Google, publishing houses, everybody's got lawyers inside, and they also hire outside counsel. And so it's really important for your Black lawyers who have their own law firm to be able to have those corporate clients, those business clients, and work as their outside counsel. And oftentimes, you know, folks will say, I don't know any Black lawyers. I don't know any Black people, right? And so now with Justice Connection, I'm saying, here is, right, this repository of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Black lawyers, and they do everything. So let's talk, right? And that, I think, can be replicated in so many different ways, right? And really pushing. So we've got folks on the inside of these companies, and we've got innovators on the outside. And how do we connect, and how do we do it in a way that is economically prosperous for our community? Because I think that's where things will begin to shift. It will be about us being able to create our own wealth, and being able to like grow from there. So it's early, Carrion, to say like how this is really, you know, come, like what's the shift, what's the change and everything.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Shannon? Do you see anything like, well, oh, I know she got these Black books. Let me try to buy some Black books. Do you think you felt an uptick or anything?
I mean, honestly, that's kind of hard. I mean, I guess maybe. I think my uptick was more of that kids are home, right? So
Mm,
the pandemic made a shift for me. And that was that now kids are home. Everyone's, you know, on virtual learning. Many parents are teleworking, or, you know, that sort of thing. So it just really created more free time to figure out the best way to fill in a lot of those gaps for kids. Sports stopped, extracurricular stopped. So I did see initially at the beginning that it was like, oh my gosh, I need something new to do. Like, you know, I need to read, I need to get, and I think, Keisha, you had mentioned this, where the pandemic really gave us an option to pause, to really reassess everything that was going on, and really gave us time to do some more of those meaningful things, right? Like everyone's on big self-care and mind and body, and, you know, so I think in that sense, yes, I did see a minor uptick. It was a little difficult for me though, and it still is, because through my entire mobile season, we were in a pandemic. So literally for me to really, you know, the mobile is on the road in March, and we're kind of pushing through until about November, December, depending on weather. So literally, when for me, this would have been a full year of being able to really engage the mobile, the pandemic hit. So that slowed me down at the beginning, but it didn't stop me. So I shut down, and I was like, okay, we'll work through the web and that piece. And then around like June, July, it was like, enough is enough. Like I need to do something. I got to get on the road. So I took it upon myself to start doing like a road trip series where I was just pulling up to different areas all around, and practicing social distance tactics, right? You're in the grocery store, you're doing it. You're in the Target, you're doing it. And for me, I already kind of socially distanced because 20 people can't fit in the mobile at a time. So it literally became a thing of, single families were like, we want to create some type of out of the house experience for our children. And so we just increased the way that we were operating, one family in at a time, masks are definitely required, all of those pieces. And to be really honest with you, that was the highlight for us. I mean, it was an amazing period of time. I had, individual neighborhoods and HOAs reaching out to me like, can you bring this to our community?
That's
People
awesome.
don't want to go far, but they want that alternative thing. So it was definitely a positive. I can't really say that it was a larger uptick because, I'm a Black owned woman business. I can't say that. I think at some point everyone was on this, we got to buy Black, we got to support Black businesses. So it was, but I think for me, which that's good. I think for me, it's always been who I am. I've always done that. Prior to being a Black owned business, I've always supported Black owned businesses. For me, it's kind of like, I'm not new to it. I'm true to it. Like that's what I do. Before I purchase something, before, I buy, I always look to see, is there a Black business that can fulfill this thing that I need? And in most cases, it really is. I mean, ultimately it is. You just have to be more diligent and, you just have to be more diligent and really just seek to find that. Because if you really want to make that your mission, it's almost like people are like, oh, I'm going vegan, right? Like, that's not something you just wake up and decide. Like, like, I'm a vegan. I don't eat blah, 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 blah. For me, I make those very conscious decisions to say, I'm going to buy from this Black owned business. And I do that in my personal life. And I also do it through the business. Not all, but many of the novelty items that we feature in the book boxes are products of minority women owned businesses. So Book Box is also supporting those businesses. We're buying and seeking out these businesses to buy their products, to feature in our box, because I do believe we have to really build that ecosystem. If I can, buy 50 of your products outright from you and then share that with 50 other people that are not a part of your network because they subscribe to this box, I'm doing my part. I'm continuing to really try to build the ecosystem. So, I mean, I think the pandemic was probably more of, just being an uptick in reading being something that people now had time to do, that was beneficial. But yeah, it's really hard to say if it was people diligently, because my target typically is people of color. I mean, those are the books that we offer. Those are typically who our customers are, anyway. So.
That's awesome. And you answered my next question. Pretty much, y'all are awesome and give great conversation. And this is inspiring me. I'm ready to go out and start my business. It's just so inspirational. But I guess I'll start with you, Keisha, because you kind of already answered it. But how have you had to pivot for COVID? Any tips you want to give to other businesses, or kind of what have you done with the whole pandemic of it all?
Yeah, I think a big part is just being okay with where I'm at, right? Like, I also had a baby during 2020, and so everything sort of slowed down. So I was kind of like,
And
oh,
that's a
good.
part of women businesses stuff
Oh,
too. You
yes,
have babies, you
yes,
know what I'm saying?
yes.
Shannon,
Mompreneurs.
Shannon
Yeah.
got her kids somewhere stuffed in the background or something like that. So yeah, that's a part of
Yeah,
it.
it really is. It really is, and my hats, I go off to all the the moms and aunts and folks who are raising parents, dads who are raising kids. Like, it's so much work, right? And so I was almost like, good, everything else is slowed down. So no, I felt like nobody else was gaining ground while I was over here breastfeeding. And so I had to, you know, even with balancing being a mom and running a business, I had to really, and it's not just a one-time thing, right? It's continuously checking in and being like, we're right where we're supposed to be, right? Like, it feels like we could be so much further and we could be doing X, Y, and Z, or, and if this was not, and what about that? And just being, just really finding peace with the present, right? And being able to say, where I'm at is where I'm supposed to be. If it's in the ideation phase, so be it, right? If it's in, you know, I haven't gotten on to, you know, Channel 45's, you know, special feed, that's okay. We're right where we're supposed to be. And so with COVID, it was that equalizer, right? Everybody sort of slowed down. And you could have been in your house sort of going stir crazy and wishing you were doing something else and should have been doing something else. And it was more like, I'm going to take advantage of this time, right? And I went on more walks than I've like probably ever gone on in my life, right? To keep her cool. She liked to be outside. So I walked twice a day. And while walking, I would listen to my Prince George's County Memorial Library System audiobook. Okay. Every time I was walking, that's right. I use Libby.
Yeah,
So
come on, testify,
yeah, to get
take
my
your time.
books. Yeah, so I went through so many great books. And so then I was like, hey, right, I'm reading something I don't get to always do, right? And really allowing myself to then pick those books that nurtured me, right? So picking things that, because things are slowed down doesn't mean that I have to like feel like I'm wasting my time, right? I can do other things that are just really valuable and nurturing for myself. So, and I found that in reading books, listening to podcasts, learning about new things, and being okay with that space.
Awesome. Anything you want to add? Because I'm going to ask one more question and wrap up. Okay.
No,
Okay.
you hit it on the head. I think it was the same for me. Initially, it was just, you know, learning to be gentle with yourself and accepting where you are in that space. So yeah, that's exactly where I was too. I don't really have, initially I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. And then I only ventured out because at that point in my spirit, it was like, okay, time to, you know, do that thing. And now I'm okay that we're back in the house. It's cold now, right? So the mobile is packed up and, you know, not really functioning, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I'm going to, you know, settle. Hopefully next summer, we won't be in a pandemic again, you know, still, I'm hoping, right. But yeah, Keisha, you're definitely right. Like learning to be okay with where you are is everything.
Okay. So, being true to my word, I'm gonna ask one last question where if you can give your last sales pitch for your business, any other tips or inspirational thing you failed to say. Y'all said a lot though. Y'all got it going on. Y'all got it going on. But anything you want to say, if you want to give your website information, best ways to contact you, if we can get into that now. And I guess we'll start with Keisha Brown, Esquire. I just love saying that. I just want to be a lawyer so I can say Esquire.
Nobody ever says Esquire.
You
It's
know,
just
all
like,
I got is Carrying the Librarian. It's cute. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
cute. But, you
it is
know, it
cute.
ain't an Esquire, you know.
No, no, but it's like friendly. It's like carrying the librarian. You gotta like smile after you say it.
I feel like I have a children's book in the future for that. Look. I'm gonna have to work with the mobile boutique. I'm gonna have to work with the
Yeah.
mobile boutique.
Hello. Hello. You already got a spot to showcase your stuff, right? I love it. I love it. Let me let Shannon take that one.
Okay, sure. I'm happy to jump in. So I mean, I think we discussed a lot. I think, you know, for me, I shared out a lot of just kind of my thought processes, entrepreneurship. I guess my thing, of course, is always, it can't be that hard. If you are looking to start that business or do that thing, do it. You will definitely figure it out along the way. Like, Keisha said it earlier. Amazon was not Amazon when it first started, right? Who would have ever thought that this is a multi-billion-dollar company, but they just started. So just do it. Like if it's an idea, before it leaves you, figure out what you need to do and do that step. But so this has been amazing, Carrie and the librarian. Thank you for including me in this. But again, my name is Shannon Taylor. I guess my nickname would be the Dope Book Dealer. And so I'm BookBox. You can find us on all social media platforms. I'm BookBox, just the name of the business. It's IMBOOKD. BOX, and that is the same for our website. It's just www.imbookedbox.com. And on the website is where you can definitely subscribe if you're interested in our monthly book box. And you can also check out all of our mobile inventory as well as our calendar of events, where you can find the mobile and where we are pulling up month to month. So you can definitely check our event calendar. Outside of that, that's, I'm here. Social media is the best way to connect. And then if you wanted to connect via email, again, we are always looking for authors. However newly published or not, we're always looking to add additional books to our shelves. And we're also looking for additional vendors to feature your products within our book subscription boxes. So the best way to do that would be via email, and that's just imbookedbox@gmail.com. Or when visiting the website, you can also fill out our contact form and we can send you the next steps. There's actually a page to the mobile on the web where you can also get some additional information about both of those pieces. So thank you so much again. And Keisha, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, I can't wait to watch the recording so I could be like, and get all these good goodies. Thank you so much again, Carrie and the librarian, for having me. I wanted, to invite everyone to come and check out Justice Connection. That's JUSTIS, right? So it's a little play on words. Just is connection. What is just? And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Justice Connection, as well as Twitter, Justice Connect. I'm happy to field questions or connect with folks, and happy to, even if it's not about, lawyers or having a lawyer, if it's more around entrepreneurialism, happy to take any follow-up questions. You can reach me at Keisha, Kisha, at justiceconnection.com. And we're always hiring interns as well. I love to support local college students and local law students and giving them really good experience. I am at the helm of this vision, but I don't believe that I am the complete package for this vision, that it's going to take so many others' talents and their time, and bringing it all together to manifest Justice Connection to its true potential. So check us out and contact us. And thanks again for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. So just officially on record on behalf of Prince George's County Memorial Library System, I wholeheartedly thank you all for participating. I definitely believe you gave a wealth of information and a lot of, definitely a master class, I will say. Hopefully we will have some more Prince George's County Black women-owned businesses, or anybody just inspired by this conversation to start and take that leap into ownership.
Yeah.
With that being said, we do have several free, I will say that again, several free resources. If you're looking to start a business or research, to begin your journey researching at Prince George's County Memorial Library System. It's a long name, but it's a very powerful resource. Our website is www.p for Prince, G for George's, C for County, M for Memorial, L for Library, S for System, .info. And we have a whole small business suite with lots of county resources linked to our page, and also online resources. I'm gonna give you three because I could have a whole nother program on just the free stuff that we offer. But one is business source Complete by EBSCO. It provides full text coverage of 2,966 scholarly business, management, and economic journals. Non-journal contents include company profiles, country reports, industry reports, market research report, and SWOT analysis. We also have Gale legal forms, which has forms for Maryland, DC, and Virginia for contracts. If you're doing rental stuff and agreements, name changes, several legal forms that you can, kind of look before you maybe jump to Justice Legal Connection, you can kind of have an idea information that they look for, and that is Gale legal forms. We also have merchant archives where you can access a vast archive of corporate and industry related documents. REB reports containing more than 180,000 documents covering over 100 countries and industries using an easy to navigate and reliable system. And all of that can be found on our website. So once again, I want to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. Please share. Check out some of our YouTube channel for archive programming, and stay connected with your premier Prince George's County Library Memorial System resource. Thank you and good evening.